Hi, welcome. Christine Weber here, and welcome to my weekly live stream. I'm usually here about 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. I'm running a little late today. So, today I want to talk to you a little bit about krama breathing. I talked about it last week, and I got a bunch of comments that made me think that I wanted to explain it a little bit more and why krama breathing can be really useful. It teaches us how to breathe. You know, the older I get, I've been practicing yoga since, I don't know, 89, I think, and teaching since 1995. And the older I get, the more I practice yoga, the more I realize it really is all about the breath and, especially asana practice. It's all about the breath. I mean, yoga itself is, of course, much a bigger word and has to do with many big self-development transformation topics. But when I'm talking about asanas specifically, asanas as part of an integrated practice can really help us to learn to have greater behavioral control over the breath so that we can have greater control over the mind, over the mental health, over the mind, over, I don't even like to say control. I like the word guide. We can better guide the mind, we can better guide the nervous system. So, the older I get, the more I've been doing this stuff, the more attracted I am to breath-centered practices just because 'cause they're so powerful and they change everything. So, krama is a way that krama means segmenting, right? So, krama breathing is a way that you kinda learn how to manipulate the structures of breathing. I've been working on a blog. I know I said I was gonna take the week off, but I had this idea about blogging, and I might just put it out anyway and be like, "Sorry." Although I probably shouldn't do that because I really do need to walk my talk. But the thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is how, in terms of breathing in the yoga world, we often talk about diaphragmatic breathing. And it is such a misnomer, and we should really retire that phrase because all breathing is diaphragmatic. It has to be. The primary muscle of inhalation is your diaphragm, and you can't really do much about it. It just it's below the level of consciousness and you can't really access it. What you access are the secondary and the tertiary musculature, right? So when people say diaphragmatic breathing, they often mean belly breathing. And yeah, you can use these abdominal muscles. They work great. You can use your intercostal muscles to breathe more deeply. Fantastic. But we really need to retire the phrase diaphragmatic. What what I think is more appropriate is interoceptive breathing, where I'm really paying attention to developing greater awareness of the structures of breathing and then developing a capacity to be able to manipulate, change, shift, focus, change it how I want to be able to affect certain experience in the nervous system. That's what I love about yoga. That's what I love about breathing. That's what I love about krama. Because krama, I taught krama yesterday to somebody for the first time, right? And where I was breaking it up into three parts. You have your chest, and then you have this kind of band around that goes to the solar plexus and the side lower ribs. And then you have the low belly pelvic bowl area, right? When you break it up into those three parts, there's so much to be aware of. There's what's going on in your chest, of course, and and collarbones, but there's what's going on in your armpits. There's what's going on in your shoulder blades up here, right? And trying to avoid some of this kind of action that happens for a lot of people when they're breathing. We're trying to avoid that. That's what people are trying to avoid when they say diaphragmatic breathing, right? But let's get more granular about it. And then the second part, like, let's work on this band around here of your solar plexus. There's so much musculature here. Lower ribs, low back, kidney area, by the way. In Chinese medicine, they say the kidneys have to reach up and grab the prana from the lungs. There's a correlation there, and certainly a correlation with all the fingers of fascia that reach down into the low back from the diaphragm. And then we have the whole of the pelvic bowl here, right? And the pelvic floor and all of the fascinating things that happen with the pelvic floor as you're breathing and how useful that can be, especially for women as we age, to have more agency, more awareness of what's going on, and more control over pelvic floor muscles, right? So we have all of this. So, not to mention all the oscillation in the arms and the legs and the head when we breathe. So, krama, I taught last week. Well, all we did last week was go inhale, chest, inhale, the second, third, solar plexus, and then inhale, pelvic floor, right? We talked about that. And then somebody wrote and said it felt easier for her coming up from a forward bend. So I thought I would show you, because that's a great idea. I'd show you how to do it from a forward, coming up from a forward bend. But it's also really good to do in an extension, like for example, cobra. I want to show you that too. Let's start with the cobra. So first of all, break up your attention into chest, the upper chest area and upper back area, and then everything's 360 degrees. So that whole upper chest, and then the middle area, and then the lower, what the Chinese call the triple burner. That's what we're working with here. Those three regions, right? So, so here you would do, like for cobra, right? You would start laying down, and the first third of your breath, and so you're only taking a third of the volume, right, goes into the chest as you lift up a third. And then here you pause. And your second third goes into the solar plexus area. And here you pause. And then the last third, belly, you don't want to push up too high, but just feel it, because it's just interoceptive, right? And then exhaling down. This is an interoceptive exercise in extending the spine and noticing the breath. So try it again. So you're going to breathe in first chest, upper back, a third of the breath, pause, and then the middle burner, solar plexus area and kidney area, pause, and then belly, pelvic floor, and then all the way down. So I don't necessarily recommend doing that breathing in cobra. I mean, it's probably not that bad to do it sometimes, but it's more a way to sort of notice these three areas. I'm just using it as an interoceptive tool. So you can do the same thing with a forward bend. So you're in the forward bend, let's see, down here, and you're coming up from it, right? So I'm gonna do arms out to the side, or cactus, because that will help. So you'd start same thing. You exhale completely, and you start with about a third of the way up into the chest, and then another third solar plexus, and all the way up to the pelvic floor. Release back down on your exhale. And again, this is a tool to learn about your breath. A third of the way, and then 2/3, and then all the way up, and exhale down. So you could do that a few times too. And I do really like this one. Not everybody gets it, right? But it's chest, pause, solar plexus area, pause all the way, pelvic floor, and then exhale down. I will show you in future videos how to do it with an exhale too. Those are some ideas about working with krama, the krama inhale with some asanas. Play around with it with other poses too, because it's the tool. So think about it this way. I'm not doing the pose the right way. What I'm doing is using the pose as an interoceptive tool to teach myself more about my breath, so that I start to develop better agency, better guidance of the breathing system. That ability to better guide the breath is an ability to have more of an effect on the autonomic nervous system. As I affect the autonomic nervous system, I affect the mind, which is the goal of yoga, right? In general. So that's I hope that breakdown helps you to understand it. It's not about doing the pose right. It's about using the pose as an interoceptive tool. I think this is where yoga needs to go, frankly. Like okay, I'm biased, but if people want to keep using yoga as for the aesthetic of it and for the workouts, I don't fine, go for it. I have no opinion about that. This is not how I do it, and that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in yoga as a tool to help people regulate the nervous system, and with that, what everything's going on out there in the world right now, I don't think there could be anything more timely than that, than that objective. So, but what I think. I'm very interested to hear what you think, so please leave a comment here. I also want to let you know before I go for today that I'm teaching a weekend retreat here in Asheville, March 22nd to 24th. It's called the Subtle Yoga Golden Ratios Retreat. The reason I'm calling it Golden Ratios with an S is because it's how to find your perfect, how to really find the breathing ratios that work for you in asana practice, in pranayama practice. So we'll be going into the depth and the science of that. I would love you to join me. I'll try and put the link in the comments. I think it might be on my link tree in Instagram already, but if you can't find the link, just email us and we'll send it to you so you can check it out. Okay. Thanks so much for being here. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next year. Bye.